Hello, everyone. Just to piggyback off of Ms. Kimberly Juanita of Financial Elevation, I am very thankful for the information that she shared with us. Please forgive the late start. Again, this is my first time doing a Facebook live video, but I felt like there was a need to do so. I've had many clients. I'm pretty much sure Kim had pretty clients, and other accountants or consultants will have plenty of clients, to reach out to them and say, hey, how can we use the funds? How can we allocate for the funds properly? um, how can we, how can we use the funds, how can we record them properly, how would they know, and how do we fill out for the forgiveness grant. So just to touch bases on what Kim has stated, is that with the PPP, it is 100% forgiven if you have used it correctly. um, Meaning that with the only changes to the SBA PPE guidelines is that up to now 40% of the funds can be allocated towards business rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. The remainder, which of course we know is 60%, can be used on the payroll. Now, with the payroll, do you have to do classification to SBA the grants? Not really, because let's say, for example, let's use calculations. Let's say if you got like 15,000 in your PPP loan, and 60% of it, of that 15%, needs to be allocated towards payroll. Well, 60% of the 15,000 is the equivalent to $9,000. So you have to set aside $9,000 of that PPP loan for payroll, and all you do is just if you use QuickBooks, I use QuickBooks Online for my clients a lot. May have desktop as well. You should find anywhere in the reporting center to pull the reports, pull the payroll reports. Submit to your accountant, your CPA, your consultant, who's going to fill out the forgiveness application grant for you on how to have everything pretty much forgiven. We are going to use those reports. We're not going to go by numbers that you say. We have to do our due diligence as well, and some of us, or most of us, we are licensed. So we're not going to do anything fraudulent or put ourselves at risk with federal government for the sake of misappropriate use of funds. So to piggyback off on what Kim stated also is, do not use these funds to also another colleague, Miss Shantae Ryder, she made a post, and I reshared it too, about how not to use the funds. You cannot use the funds to travel. You cannot use the funds to go to Phillips Plaza. You cannot use the funds to go to a Cheesecake Factory or whatever. That's if you do, please remember it would not be forgiven. Those funds is for pretty much you keeping up with the overhead operating cost of your business expenses, keeping your employees employed, keeping yourself employed. If it's just you and business has been slow, keeping up with your day-to-day expenses. Now, once you cut yourself a payroll check and you put it into your personal, not back into the same account, put it into a different account. You can do whatever you want to with it. Whether you pay your rent, your daycare or car note, whatever, that's on you. But as far as when it comes to business related activities, cut yourself a payroll check from the business account into your personal. You can also direct deposit with QuickBooks, payroll. The QuickBooks software itself is like $25. You add on the payroll component. If you just do the core where you're doing it yourself, it's 25. You can go up under your accountant, because if you want to do it yourself, this is what this video is about. It's showing you how to actually record these transactions properly. So what you're looking at is a sample company file, and I have already set up the what I call classes. So this is how we will know how much has been spent under the SBA or EDIA loan. Again, you have to keep this number in mind. 9,000 go towards your payroll. The rest going to the rent. We're going to tell based on these categories and the amount that is listed here. Again, I would like to apologize for the lateness. Miss Kimberly, she did do her portion on time. I'll explain to you guys the guidelines and the rules of usage of the PPP. What does it mean during tax season? What does it mean as far as record keeping and the allocation of funds? What does it mean altogether? She did a stellar job with that, so I thank her so much for helping me with this. My portion is to do the bookkeeping. While Miss Kimberly was with you guys, I was in a one-on-one session with a client that does not use QuickBooks. She used Wave. As you can see that it's up here. I have some that may use Sage on how to allocate. So the thing is that how it starts off first. So again, and I'm sorry, with Wave and with Sage, they don't have classes. If to my understanding, but hey, we know that if we got 15,000 in PPP, and right now I'm just at 3,000 expenses, that means I have 12,000 of money that is sitting in my account can be used towards my rent or towards payroll that I have. Pretty much I have remaining left to use. So we're gonna jump right into it. So I'm gonna start from the beginning. Um, I'm gonna show you what it all how it looks because this is the end, meaning that once everything is properly accounted for, we pull these type of reports to fill out the forgiveness application. An update about that, it was that you had 8 weeks to use the funds. You now have 24 weeks to use them and fill out for the PPP for the application. The EDIL, from what we both just read and understood, only up to 10,000 of an EDIL is automatically forgiven. So you may have gotten, when you agreed upon the amount, you may have received an offer, and the offer was more than 10,000. So whatever is over the 10,000, just know that you have to pay that back. And they already spelled out your terms of agreement, so you should be good to go. Okay. You should know what to do next. So what you do next is pretty much account for the funds. And again, these funds was only supposed to be used to help either sustain your business or to help your business grow and keep people employed. Okay, so we here at we're gonna use this as a sample company, and this sample company is a landscaping company, of course. Sometimes if you have QuickBooks, it does not start off automatically with classes, right? So what you would do is that you go into this wheel, you go into account settings, forgive the computer for being slow. I have plenty of things open. Okay. So you'll go into advances. Here, you see track classes, turn it on. If you have multiple locations, multiple properties, like I said, you may want to have more detailed books, especially like if you're a real estate company, a realtor, or a property owner, and you have multiple properties that or a property management company, and you have multiplications that you want to pretty much keep track of, allocate income, allocate expenses to. You want to turn it on. Within some companies, you have different divisions, you have different departments, you have different business, you may have different store locations. And once again, you apply for a EDIL or a PPP loan, um, for the entire company because that could be, listed upon a one it all could be listed upon of one location. I'm sorry, upon of one legal entity. You just have different locations and different properties for upon your business. So here is where you select location, select departments, whatever. You click save. Okay. Okay. Then you click done. Let's leave out of this screen. And again, please excuse the slow behind screen here. Maybe because I have my Excel large file up. I am doing some numbers. So please excuse. Okay. So we set up the classes. So now let's set up your chart of accounts. I swear it takes more longer than my other books, the sample file. Okay. So let's try this again. You know what? I'm just gonna close out some pages. Maybe that will help. I'm not a person of patience, as you can see. Okay, slowly but surely it's opening. So I guess it had to go a little bit better if I would have closed out all these messages, these windows that I have open. Okay, so we set up our classes. Next, what you want to do is set up a new chart of account. The chart account we're going to be setting up is the SBA. The two different types, because of the simple fact that those are loans, and if you look at your loan, if you look at the loan terms, it's over 12 months. So anything over 12 months makes it a long-term liability. Switch the name out. We're gonna name it SBA dash PPP, which you already seen that I've did on the reports. You're going to name the other one when you get it EIDL. Okay. You hit save and close, but remember these are long-term liabilities because they begin as a loan until they are forgivable. Then it's treated as if it's pretty much grant money received, which is other income. It doesn't count in as you made a profit, your gross sales or revenue. It counts as other income. So until then, until you get that application approved, filled out, and approved, it sits on loans payable, which is accounts payable side. Okay. That transaction, when it comes in, if you have QuickBooks, when that transaction comes into your bank, if you have your bank account linked to your QuickBooks, you would go over. My quick way of doing it is I always go back into the dashboard. You click on that account. Here is where you can also allocate out your accounts on the transactions properly. Do not get it confused or think that QuickBooks automatic coding is correct. Few of the times it is not. It may be a transaction for rent when they actually code it to meals and entertainment. It could be that the name looks funny to them or whatever the case may be, but the transaction is not always coded as it should be. For example, if you see here, you got uncategorized income. Well, that is not an income. That's a refund. So if these are rentals, and of course it's a landscaping company, all these transactions codes to equipment rental, the expense. So what it does is that it makes the balance on your equipment rental expenses decrease. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that now. Again, let's say for example, um, you just open. I just want to open up a transaction, just in case that this is where you come in court to a transaction. Some companies, especially like the one I'm contracted with, we use a lot of journal entries for our transactions. They do not use this window whatsoever. I do to code out, properly. So let's say if you record your rent income, and this is, let's say this is the property company or whatever, you recording your payment to. It's their name, rent or lease, and I'm going to class it to SBA. I receive my PPP first, so that's where it goes to. You do this every time. So you got to remember, keep a calculation in your head. Hey, 15,000 I received. 9,000 of it, no, that has to go towards payroll. So how you want to break that 9,000 up, that is up to you. Remember, you have 24 weeks to get it forgiven. So when you run your payroll, if you want to run your payroll yourself bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly, calculate the amount that you're gonna pay yourself from that 9,000. And sometimes, majority of the time, I'm sorry, not majority of the time, but your payroll expenses is also included in that payroll. So remember that with the 9,000. So again, all you're doing at the end of the 24 weeks period. If we pull in a report for payroll, we using how much that you spent in payroll, or we can just get it off your profit and loss statement. It's going to show there too. Part of the section called salaries and wages and the taxes paid. And we're gonna know that amount, and we're also gonna know the amount of your rent, and we're gonna know the amount of utilities, etc., etc. And that's the amounts that we are putting on your application form. So again, for you DIY, meaning you guys that doing your bookkeeping yourself, you come here, and this is how you code your transactions. If it's your rent, if it's utilities, you open up that transaction, you code it, well, you classify it towards whichever loan that you receive, and then you hit save or add. When you receive the loan, when you open up that transaction, that's going to get pulled in from the bank. Where it says category, you drop down, you select SBA-PPP if that's the money that's coming in first, or you drop down, you select SBA dash EIDL, whichever one that you receive the money for, that's what you record it to. So again, when you open up that transaction, I'm just going to use one for example. When you open a transaction from what's pulled in from the bank, and you will see either SBA or USA Treasury in the memo line, we know that that's the SBA that's coming in, especially for the amount that you're approved for, saying you know what amount that you'll be approved for. You switch that category to SBA dash PPP or dash EIDL, and then you hit it, then you hit add. Now you keep doing that for transactions again. Transaction for utilities, transactions for mortgage interest, transaction for business rent, for business rent, and the payroll is automatically going to code. It's going to talk to your payroll check, because if you put down the same check number that was written to you, that you wrote to yourself, or your direct deposit is going to match with the transaction being pulled in from the bank anyway. All you do is just hit accept or add. Again, you come here, let's pull the report. I have already coded out a few transactions, so you guys can see how it will look on the report. Okay. Here, pull a profit and loss. Okay. So the report has came up. This is a year-to-date report, clearly, because it's only going for today. So what you want to do is we're going to customize your report. The columns that we're going to choose will be classes. Run the report. Awesome. Okay, so as you can see, we have allocated expenses towards the SBA EDIL and the SBA PP loan. So if we scroll down, we see that we got cost of goods here that we allocated towards the EDIL. I received that grant afterwards or whatever. Scroll down again. There's my rent. I use the PPP to pay my rent. I use the PPP to pay for state taxes. I use the PPP to pay for my utilities. And if I got $15,000 received from the PPP and I only spent $3,000, well, clearly I have near $12,000 that is left for me to use. So again, this is how you will properly account for it. It's very simple, not hard at all. It's all about you going into your settings, turning on your classes, turning on your location for those that have, if you in real estate, those have different properties, different jobs that you may have allocate payroll to, because what some companies we do, we allocate payroll expenses to, the jobs, whatever. Um, if you have, that's for location, because you can pull a report here. You can also customize it by location if you want to, as well, so you can see how much you spent towards each division, each department, IT, accounting, admin, production, whatever. You just know that your income, your expenses, pretty much is going to be very detailed out. It's going to be a very long report. I know I have CFOs that I work with or work for, and they export it out so they can give you a nice, pretty report, so you can say, hey, we're spending too much in this department, or a lot of money went towards this property or whatever. Just know that all of it, you come here to filter out, class the report, however way that you want to. Again, as you see, location comes here. It's going to go across the top just like how the classes did, and you can see how much is allocated toward each division, each location, each department. This is very straightforward accounting. Again, if you have any questions or concerns about the EDIL loan or the PPP, there are several accountants, consultants in my network on my page you can reach out to. You can reach out to Miss Kimberly, who is the, again, owner of Financial Elevation. She did a very good job for us explaining the terms, the uses and terms, and what not to do and what you can do with the EDIL and the PPP. Miss Shantae Roddy, she posts links constantly. Very helpful page. She posts about these loans all the time. She posts about in regards of the consultants that are helping their clients fill out for the grant, and as well as advising, educating you on the grant as well. She also posts a lot of grants that are out there for small business owners, for black owned owners, and for women owned business owners. So I will post their links and share their pages as well on here. If you need more guidance, this video was just to show you how to allocate those uses of funds properly in your accounting system, and pull reports. And reports that will basically, if you hire someone such as us to fill out your application, these are the reports. This is the report we're basically going to use to help you fill out your application. So if you have any more questions or concern, please feel free to comment on the video. Feel free to inbox. If you need more consultation, go to my website. It's www.peavyassociates.com to schedule a consultation as well. If I'm not available, I will refer you to my colleagues who can also give you the best advice as possible. Thank you guys for tuning in and learning a bit. I hope that for my first live that this was a good job that we did. And again, post comments, post questions. We'll accept them all, good or bad. It's all good. Thank you and have a good evening.